All righty. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our October 2024 Bexar County Board of Education work session. We are glad you guys are all here. It's hard to believe that this Friday is November 1st, but it's here. We are deep into the fall season. Before we get started, I just want to ask that we all keep the Kelly family in our prayers. Clay Kelly, Miss Kelly is not here tonight. She's in the hospital with her husband. He's getting ready to go, I believe, either right now or he's about to go under a 2-hour major surgery. He's still in critical condition. So if you guys will just keep that family and those doctors in your prayers for us. As we get started, we're going to start off with Dr. LaDuff with the Superintendent Report.
Well, good evening, board members. It has been a busy couple of weeks since we've returned from fall break. I just wanted to start tonight by acknowledging some of the accomplishments of our teachers and students. This fall, we had our BASA volleyball team made the playoffs. Our Winder-Barrow volleyball team made the Sweet 16 of the playoffs. Appalachi and Winder-Barrow softball both made the playoffs. We were fortunate enough to be able to award our REACH scholars for Barrow County this week. So that's 5 7th grade students across our system. Representing AIM, we had Alec Fortaleche, Bear Creek Middle, Libby Hamler, Heyman Morris, Olivia Lowe, Russell Middle, Mackenzie Tran, and Westside Middle, we had Annabelle Yang. Very proud of those students and excited to see what they accomplish as they move forward and continue their path towards college. We had our Barrow Robotics High School teams all placed at the first Tech Challenge this year. Russell Middle School's FFA was recognized as a top 5 middle school model of excellence, 4th in the nation. Russell Middle, Appalachi High School, and Winder-Barrow High School were all awarded the 3-star National Chapter Award at the National Competition for FFA. The Winder-Barrow JROTC Raiders finished first in the region, and they will be headed to the state competition on November 2nd. And very, very proud of the work that Mr. T and his team did. They welcomed our middle school students over to BASA and completed the Ignite tours where they were able to share with our middle school students what life at BASA is like. And in closing, I just want to commend all of our school leaders. As you know, we have started having conversations with our school governance teams regarding some of the things that we do here in the system for school safety and things that the community might want to see us add, and just really proud of the work that's going on there. And we're going to continue to have those conversations, do that research, and you'll hear more about that from Dr. Thompson and some of our other leaders tonight. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
All righty. Thank you so much, Dr. LaDuff. We're very proud of all of these great students and teachers for making our county shine, not just within these borders, but much farther as well outside of Barrow County. So we're going to get into the department presentations. We're going to start off with Dr. Bowen with support services.
Good evening. I come to you with one informational item, and then Dr. Lowe will come with one action item. We are, with the Safety and Mental Health Update, we are currently reviewing and assessing a variety of safety devices and programs that are currently being used or piloted in our area, or really around our state. We're looking at what's going on in Henry County, DeKalb County, Atlanta Public Schools, Gwinnett County, Valdosta, and Elbert County. We're also working together with other districts who are in the same research phase that we are, and looking at what systems they are considering by starting by reviewing and assessing their own systems and what layers to add. We're trying to gain an understanding of how the devices and the technology function, how much staff support will be needed to maintain and operate the systems and machines we're considering. Of course, we're also very interested in the effectiveness of these programs, including their successes, but also their challenges when they're put into practice. So we look forward to gaining more information there and providing more insight into that moving forward. From a mental health perspective, I wanted to share just quickly that we are continuing to provide support to our students and staff, especially those at Appalachi. We're looking to make some long-term decisions on staffing to keep that support in place moving forward. We are currently renewing and extending or entering into new partnerships with the following mental health care providers: Advantage Behavioral Health, Social Empowerment, who Dr. Lowe will talk about shortly, Northeast Georgia Health Services, and Family Counseling Services of Athens. So we are Some of those we already had relationships with that we're renewing and extending. Some people we're developing new partnerships with moving forward, and I would commend Dr. Lowe. I would also commend Megan McNally and Mr. Kurtz in Human Resources, Dr. Kurtz, for what their pursuits are to continue to provide the best for our staff and for our students' mental health. Now, Dr. Lowe will come forward with an action item for you all.
Hi. Good evening. Every year, we bring to you an MOU for our partnership with Social Empowerment Center for Behavioral and Mental Health Needs. This year, the partnership with Social Empowerment Center involves 3 programs. These are for behavioral health services for underinsured students, parent support services for parents of our McKinney-Vento, that's our homeless students. They're involved in the Homeless Coalition, and then summer enrichment programming for McKinney-Vento students as well. So all funding for our part of the MOU is granted through, or is given through the McKinney-Vento grant or Title IV federal funds. And so the superintendent recommends renewing the district's partnership with Social Empowerment Center for the 24-25 school year, subject to a total authorization of $69,000. Any questions?
Thank you so much. Any questions, guys? Consent? All righty. Thank you, Dr. Lowe. All righty. Next, I'd like to welcome up Ms. Houston with Business Services.
Good evening. I'll be real quick tonight. All I have is the superintendent recommends removing the new debt policy from public review and approving the said policy. We didn't have any public comment on this policy.
Okay.
All good?
Any questions? Consent? Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Okay, next, we have Mr. Perno with System Operations.
Good evening. We've got 2 information items, updates on current projects. The first is our Performing Arts Center, and we're continuing to make good progress there. Without a lot of rain, you know, that affects some things in a negative way. In other ways, it's positive. And for the site work out there, as you can see, a lot of work done to kind of tie in the upper part of the campus to the Performing Arts Center. But they're doing great out there, continuing on with interior, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, drywall, block work, and again, a lot of site work outside with retaining walls and concrete walkways and so forth. We hope to see the surfacing, the paint go down on the tennis courts here soon. That asphalt's still curing there, but we're not far off from that either. Some interior shots there. Okay, our next item is our classroom pods at Appalachi High School and Winder Barrow High School. We'll see some photos there. Got equipment mobilized on site and barrier fencing in place at Appalachi. And there you see the grading work is well underway. That's the first pod you come to as you work your way around the back of the school on the bus loop. Also, utility tie-in work is underway. That's just an aerial view, the 2 white blocks there showing where those pods will go. As you work your way around the back of the school, if we back up one more just for a moment, that's that pod at the very back of the school. The greenhouse sits in that location, and so we've got to take that piece out. Also, the storage building at the back of the school. We'll have to do the same thing at Winder Barrow High School, and so we're working with the school. We'll be communicating with the agriculture department as well, and Dr. Wood is helping us coordinate that also with the ag folks. So they're going to be without a greenhouse for the rest of the school year at Appalachi. At Winder, it will probably be into December, January before we pull that one. So that's, you know, That's something we're going to have to work through, and we've got great buy-in, I believe, from the schools. They're going to have a new greenhouse when it's all said and done, and they need those. Those are some older units there. But we'll be communicating with them on exact location and what those greenhouses themselves will look like before we go out and purchase those for the project. On the Wine to Barrel one, that next slide, that's not bad, a representation there, but the larger, yeah, if you can zoom it, there you go, that's good. The larger dark box there, that's the pod itself. And so it sits right up against that lower parking lot at the ag area. You see the large student parking lot to the left there with tennis courts at the top. So again, we'll have to relocate greenhouse and storage room. That's just a conceptual picture or drawing. So that may change a little bit from that photo right there, but that's kind of a start for us. We met with the city of Winder today, just a development team, and talked through just making sure we got all our ducks in a row for getting that brought out there. We'll start to see units arrive at Appalachi next week, and then we'll be later on into the winter before we see units coming out to Winder. Any questions on any of that?
I think the most important thing is that the students and the families know that they are receiving a new greenhouse
Yes.
at both schools.
Yes. We're excited about that. Like I said, they need an upgrade, so we look forward to bringing those in and making them a part of the project.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. We have one action item tonight. We are asking the superintendent to recommend Charles Black Construction to serve as our construction manager at risk for renovations and modifications to Heyman Morris Middle School, Bear Creek Middle School, and Wine Barrow High School. We held a pre-proposal meeting. 5 firms attended and 3 submitted proposals. System operations met, and we poured over those proposals. And again, we're making a recommendation on who we believe is the most responsive and responsible offerer. The construction manager will join us and the architect, who was approved in January of 2023, in the design through completion of construction. And we just work together to make sure that we maintain schedule and quality and budget. Initially, it was expected these projects would take place over the summers of 2025 and 2026, but in light of recent events, this is likely going to push back to the summer of 26 and 27. We have a stated cost limitation established of $11 million for the project, and each of those firms that proposed determined that was a reasonable and achievable number. Now, if we delay the project, as we expect to, for a year, that could impact that figure somewhat with the cost of material and labor and inflation. But again, our team will come together to make sure that we hold that as tight as we can. The rationale for this, and we've discussed it in prior meetings, but we made a state application, FY26 state capital outlay application with the state for these projects. They're eligible because at Heyman Morris and Bear Creek, those buildings are over 20 years old. And so we'll be doing finishes, work, lights, ceilings, paint, floors, HVAC system at Heyman Morris. That's why that would be a 2-summer project in itself. We'll also create some additional classroom space at Heyman Morris and perhaps some site work as well. The gym floor at Bear Creek is probably the one item we would look to tackle there. Perhaps the lights. We'll see what the budget looks like, and if we don't get into any unforeseen items there. So, like I said, we have the 3 firms proposed to us. We have attachments there. 3 good firms. They can all do this work. They've got a good history for school construction, renovation, so it's tight grouping. But at the end of the day, really that team and the approach, that's what we really bear down on when we have 3 strong groups like that. And Charles Black just just did edge out the others.
Any questions? Consent?
Yep.
All righty, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All righty, next, I'd like to welcome up Dr. Moten with Teaching and Learning.
Good evening. I have 2 informational items and 1 action item. I will begin with the virtual learning update. We do have a slide that shows our numbers of students who are enrolled in virtual learning. As you can see on the screen there, for Foothills, we have a total of 69 students as of this moment who have enrolled, and you can see the breakdown by grade level there. And then our Barrow Online Campus, by which Georgia Virtual Learning provides content for us. You can see the breakdown there, 1st grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th, and then the high school numbers. So for Appalachia, the total enrollment is 1,949, so we have a small number, about 4% of our students who have selected either Foothills or Barrow Online Campus. Any questions? Okay. I'll move on to professional learning, just to give you an update on November 4th. That is our Digital Learning Day. And you can see there at a glance the professional learning sessions in which our staff members will be enrolled in learning and honing their craft. And also, while our staff members are in professional learning, there's another slide that shows what students will actually be doing. So it's not an off day for students. We do have an expectation that they are enrolled virtually or otherwise completing written assignments from staff members. And so from the elementary level, you can see pre-K through 5th grade for our elementary level, and then 6th through 8th for middle school, and then our high school students. We have shared this information with parents so that they will be able to support their students by logging in and looking at the assignments that teachers have made for them. And we encourage parents to contact us if there are any questions about what the expectations are for our digital learning day. Any questions? Okay. For the action item, our policy IHA grading systems pertaining to standards-based grading in the elementary school was available for public comment, of which we had none. Based on this information, the superintendent recommends removing policy IHA grading systems to include standards-based grading practices in grades 1 through 5 from public comment and approving said policy.
Any questions or comments? Consent? All righty, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All righty, next, I'd like to welcome up Dr. Kurtz with Human Resources.
Thank you very much. I want to start out by saying at Human Resources, we believe we are our people. Of course, the people in this room make a big difference, but really those people that drive our children, that teach our children, that feed our children all day, every day. And so those are the folks that are making a difference in the lives of our kids most directly, and we want to make sure that we attract, retain, and support the best. One of the tools that we use for that is our benefits. We are currently in the middle of open enrollment, meaning people are selecting benefits for January, to begin on January. And our benefits fall into 3 categories: health insurance, retirement benefits, and ancillary benefits. The district pays for some of these benefits completely or partially. And then we use our large buying power of our 2,200 employees to get really good deals on the best benefits that our employees say they need for ancillary benefits. Those that are partially or fully funded by the district include health insurance, retirement, basic life, accidental death, and dismemberment. Those benefits can cost, well, in some instances, they cost more than 100% of the salary, but on average, they cost another 60% of our teacher's salary to pay for benefits. So we're spending a lot of money. We want to make sure we're getting the right things there. That these are the things that our people say they need, that these are the things that support them and let them focus on their work and making difference in the lives of kids. Ancillary benefits include dental insurance, vision, additional whole life or term life insurance, critical illness, long and short-term disability, retirement savings plans, and flexible spending accounts for health and dependent care. What we do to make sure that we have the best benefits is our HR director, Ms. Megan McNally, works with benefits broker to get bids for products to make sure they are competitive, to make sure they meet our needs. They then take those bids and she reviews them with a committee that's made up of a variety of staff, because not all of our staff have the same needs, so we want to make sure that they're meeting folks' needs, that we're not just competitive, but we have the doctors that we're looking for, the rates we're looking for, and the reimbursements that we're looking for. A great example of this is just this year we are changing our vision provider. We had a very competitive vision plan that didn't have the network we needed, and our department director took that feedback and put that back out for bid. We got even more competitive rates, bounced some of those plans off of our benefits committee and selected one with a much better group of in-network providers, particularly right here in the Winder-Barrow area. So that was a win-win for our staff. We can get them some cheaper eye services as well as the doctors that they are already using at a much higher rate. And so that's the kind of work we do each year to make sure that these benefits do attract, do retain, and do support our staff again so they can focus on their work. Once we have all the correct benefits, Ms. McNally, her team worked very carefully with our brokers to put out educational materials. You've probably seen those coming through your email each week. Weekly, there's sort of a nudge that's designed to direct you towards a variety of formats. There's video formats, there's written formats, there's print materials, things like this that folks can pick up and try to make the right decisions for their families. We also have live educational sessions and virtual educational sessions to help everybody make the right decisions, get the best plans for their families, for their situations, so they can focus on their work here. A lot of these materials right now say valuable, essential, and comprehensive, and that's what we aim to do, is make sure that this plan is valuable, essential, and comprehensive in meeting our staff's needs and wants so that they can focus on their daily work. Questions related to benefits and open enrollment?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Great update. All righty, and lastly, I'd like to welcome up Dr. Thompson with Strategic Information Services.
Evening, it's a pleasure to be with you as always. We have tonight one action item and 7 informational items. I would apologize, but y'all let me put the word information right in the title of the department, so I'm not sure what you expected. We are full of information. So I'm going to first off ask Ms. Nicole Vallis, our Director of Communication, to come up and talk a little bit about our communications report. As a reminder, this is staggered, so this is September's report. There were some pretty critical things that happened in September, and she wants to highlight a few things about how we approached communication during the tragedy of September 4th.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for your time. I just wanted to go through, like Dr. Thompson said, the September report will look a lot different than any others. And mostly, if we could go ahead and scroll through, Rochelle. Thank you. I just wanted to talk about how all of our communications focused on our number one priority, which was making sure students, staff, and families knew absolutely everything that was going on and communicating with them as soon as we could. So we dedicated our website to all communications for Appalachia. A lot of our communications focused on direct messages. So we pretty much stayed off social media and focused strictly with directly messaging and emailing our families and students and staff. On the next slide, this just shows exactly how many emails went directly to staff and students or families, and this is all available on the website as well. Every message we sent is posted on this page. We also posted to social media just saying, if you're not getting these communications, please check your contact information and make sure it's up to date. So we did try to use social media for that aspect. The next slide just shows about the numbers of communications we sent out. So the remind messages, you can see that number. Parent link emails, this is our primary form of communication we used. We also have our contact us emails. This let us, any kind of question that came in from the public comes through the website, a lot of it does. So we, just like when we routed the phones, here to the PDC from Appalachia, we made sure and route all the emails that came through Contact Us as well, just to help try to direct answers. And then in addition to that, we also created another form that was devoted to returning to school questions. And if you see that, it generated 351 questions. And from there, we used that to compile the FAQs that were on the website as well, to help answer all of those questions. And it was all on this one page that we also had an alert across the top that anyone could click and get to those questions as soon as they could. We also established an inbox for media requests because within the first 48 hours, we had more than 80 news outlets contact us, the communications team and individual staff members. So we did enlist the help, and thankfully we had the insurance to help us cover this, but with the communications firm, Jackson Spalding, helped us to navigate that influx of media requests and also navigate when we were at, for example, Appalachia, just to help set up perimeters to keep our privacy and respect the space of our students and staff. So they've really helped us with that, get through that experience with media. And then the next slide just shows the videos again. We tried to keep our messaging to what mattered. And so the Teacher of the Year video, it's hard to imagine September 3rd, but we were in this room on September 3rd doing Teacher of the Year, and that was the video we showed. But just to see like the views, most people wanted to see that information for Appalachia, of course. So you can see that. And it helped to share those messages in a more personal way than the written. But that's really all. I just wanted to make sure that you saw that. Of course, the social media numbers went up as well, but that's just superficial. People were just a lot of not from our community, looking at our pages. So that's why you'll see that giant jump and then on the next slide with social media numbers and the giant jump in web page views. But that's why it was so important for us to make sure we had all the information right there. Are there any questions?
I just have a comment.
Okay.
I just think y'all did an outstanding job.
Thank
Really,
you, Lynn.
really, really outstanding.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens.
That September was a horrible month for everybody, and you were communicating beautifully with families and with everybody who needed to be communicated with, and I just really, really, really appreciate that.
Thank you. It really helped to have an outside company help as well because we were so close to it. And when you're feeling the feelings and experiencing it all, it helped to have that extra support. Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that comment, Ms. Stevens, and I'll echo Ms. Vallis in saying it did help having outside help, but the communications department also did a fantastic job on their own, so it took a team. For our second informational item, I'm going to ask Ms. Jenny Persinger, our Director of Data Assessment and Accountability, to go a little more in depth than we normally do on our 40th day enrollment report.
Thank you. So you know that every 20 days we do an official enrollment report and present that to you. But because this one was a little different, we wanted to give a little bit of time to help you understand what was happening. So you can see there, this is what we would normally present to you, where it compares the 40th day from the past 3 years to our most recent data. So you can still see that we're up above numbers where we have been. But when you look at that percentage, it's not as high as it has been in previous reports. So on the next slide, so keep in mind that that's always a little misleading. That first day count, remember, is the students that were actually in the building. So that's not truly an enrollment count. That was an attendance count. And then you can see whereby the 11th day after we've dropped those students that don't show up for 10 days and we figure out that they've moved to another school system or they've decided to move out of state, whatever, then you can see our actual enrollment count. And then you see that on the 40th day, this time it dropped, which at first seems a little unusual and completely devoted to the circumstances of September. But I went ahead and put on the next slide, the past 3 years enrollment trends for the whole year, just so that you can see it's not unusual. That bottom line is the year of 21-22. So in the fall of 21, there were different COVID protocols going into place and parents deciding they wanted to make a different choice for their children, so it dropped. But then it generally came back up. The next year, it dropped a little later in the year, more like the 60th day, 80th day, and then tends to come back up. So you can see that every year, it's not unusual that some point in the year, we tend to drop a little bit, and then with all the growth that's happening, or families then going back and changing the decision they made, they come back to school. So generally, we end up coming, back up as the year goes on. And then just that last slide shows you just a comparison of again, I took the first day count off because that's attendance, but the 3 official counts that we've done so far this year, just so you can see where those changes are. Obviously, the greatest change was at the high school level, then at a little less at middle school, and even less than that at the elementary level. But just so you can kind of see where those trends are falling right now, and then we'll do a 60th day count at the beginning of November, and we'll present that to you next month so that you can see kind of where we're falling. Any questions?
Thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, and I will tag that to say that, as Ms. Persinger said, it's not unusual to see a little bit of a decline. This was an abnormally pronounced decline relative to some other years, and it is likely some of that has to do with the fallout of September 4th, but just like with COVID, those don't tend to be permanent changes. And when we looked at some districts that had undergone shooting incidents, it wasn't uncommon to see a short-term enrollment dip that then stabilizes itself over time. We wanted to spend a little bit of time to just kind of walk through that, because it does look a little unusual, because those of you who've been on the board are used to seeing pretty steady increases. This is not. So it's something, it is unusual, and we'll bear watching, but we don't think it's entirely unprecedented given either our history or what happened. All right, the next 2 items, I'm going to ask Ms. Beth Mitchum, our testing and data coordinator. She's going to go over the 23-2024 Georgia milestone results and our graduation rate from 2023-2024.
Thank you so much. I'll just share a little bit about our milestones assessment scores that we got back over the course of the last summer, because we tested obviously in May of 2024, but we had our ELA science social studies scores back, but then our math scores were held over during the summer because we changed standards. So those standards got updated. We didn't get our math scores, and the embargo was actually not lifted until the end of September, so we couldn't publicly share them until now. But we did get them towards the end of April or end of August, so that our schools were able to look at how they performed in the previous year. So just a little bit about milestones. I know some of you are very familiar with it, but it is a summative assessment. So when we're talking about assessments, most of the time we have a formative or a summative, and this one it's the end of the year or end of a course, measures the mastery of the standards, and it lets us know where we're at with instructional practices, curriculum mapping, and all of those things. So just real quickly, again, some of you are very familiar with this. Some of you may not realize what grades and subjects we test in. In grades 3, 4, 6, and 7, we're just math and English language arts. Grades 5 and 8 take science. Grade 8 takes social studies. And then in high school, over the course of the 4 years, you're going to end up taking 4 end-of-course tests in those 4 subjects up there. So the next slide talks about how do we get results from these assessments of learning at the end of the course or the grade level. And the state breaks them down into achievement level descriptors, which we use 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can see there what the description of each of those is. So any milestone course that you take, the student is going to come out with one of those, descriptors explaining where they are in their learning. Are they ready to move on? Do they need some more support before they move on to the next grade level? And that just helps our teachers gauge where they're going from there. So now our EOGs, like I said, come out as achievement level descriptors, and every year those students have access to that. We put it into Infinite Campus and Portal for the parents, and then they can see where their student is. And so obviously it is of the previous year, it is not this year's learning. So we're looking at it as how far did we come? When you think about formative assessments, our teachers are doing that throughout the school year. They are seeing what does this student still need to learn, and then this summative assessment lets us know what did we teach really well, what can we teach better. And then when you're talking about an end-of-course test, it actually has a little bit higher stakes for our high schoolers because it is 10% of their grade. And that comes across in what we call a grade conversion score, which is a 0 to 100 score based on where they scored in the test. So that then gets put in the grade book, and it becomes part of their final course grade. So just on that note, it is 10%, but we went to the state board late September, and we have asked them to waive the 10% for Appalachi EOCs for the 24-25 school year. So it will reduce down to 0.01%, which is what we did during COVID. We still need the students to take the assessments, see where we're at, what do we need to improve on. All of those lost instructional days at Appalachi, we've got to see what kind of impact that made. So we still need them to take them, but it's not going to impact their grade that's going to go on a transcript and be part of a GPA. So we are thankful to the state board for that. So just real quickly, we'll go through some of the results and some of the things that are different. So like I talked about, we have new standards for math, and this is comparing Algebra 1 from the 22-23 school year to the algebra concepts and connections. So that did change on the EOC. The name of the EOC course did change. And so you can see there too. So orange is going to be our level 1s, and the dark blue is going to be the level 4. So we're always trying to increase the blue and decrease the orange and move our children up towards those upper levels as we can. But you can see that we did make some great gains there in algebra. So we'll just go through them real quick. Now this one, because Algebra 1 is offered to some of our middle schoolers as a high school course, we broke it down into our 9th through 12th graders and our middle schoolers and what that looks like versus their previous year. So you can see that there. If you'll go ahead, Rochelle. So this is American Lit. So this is going to be the ELA course that they take in high school. And again, just a comparison from year to year. And then we have biology and U.S. history. Now, I will comment about the social studies and the United States history. That is actually a state-mandated exam, whereas federally, we're only mandated to do math, language arts, and science. So we do have social studies in there as a state requirement. So something else that our ELA tests do for us is it helps to monitor reading level. It gives our students a score of at or above grade level where they're reading based on that one test that they took. So again, keep in mind this is coming off of a summative assessment and it's pulling just a couple of pieces of information to come up with this. But we did see some growth there for our 3rd through 8th graders in their reading level between 23 and 24. So, and then this is just the breakdown of the grades from 23-24 of where our different grade levels are at their reading level. So, and then we have the breakdown of our math scores of the first 2 from last year to this year. Then we've got ELA. And then the next slides just go into further grade bands of our 3 through 5th graders and then our 6th through 8th graders. So all that is there for your review. And again, same thing. This is ELA broken down by grade band. And finally, we've got our science and our social studies. But the science, it does raise some questions because we have some 8th graders that enroll in the honors physical science class. And that is for high school credit. However, it doesn't have an EOC attached to it. So they do take an EOG and they earn the high school credit in that course, but they do not also take the science EOG. So that's kind of where you see some of that discrepancy and why it's broken out in the 2 different levels there. So, and then our social studies. So that is all for milestones for this year. Any questions? All right. And then I get to jump in to some more celebration of our graduation rate, which again is one of those things that stays embargoed until it is released by the state. So released during fall break, didn't it?
Yes, so the actual press release came out while we were on fall break. So this is the first time that we're able to share it with you, but I'll go ahead and talk. All right, there we are. All right, so a little bit about how we calculate graduation rate is every child is in a cohort. When you start ninth grade, that is your cohort. So we track their entry date, and even if they transfer around the state, they're still going to have that same entry date. So any child that has enrolled with us at any point, in this case, we're talking about our 24 graduates, so between August of 2020 and graduating with us in 24, those students are part of that cohort. And so we go through and we make sure we keep track of where each of those students are, even if they don't graduate with us, where have they moved to, and we have paperwork that helps us with that. Rochelle? All right, so if they move within the state, obviously the state can keep track of that because they have a number that's attached to them. But then we do have students that move out of state, out of country, private school, homeschool. We've got to keep track of the records requests for those, and we have some dedicated folks at the high schools that do that, and they do an excellent job of making sure that they know why that student withdrew and where they went. So I'm thankful for those folks. And then this is the math that goes behind it, but it really is you take how many people you graduated, how many people ever enrolled in that cohort, and then out of that cohort, we take everybody out that we know where they went. They transferred somebody somewhere else. They moved back to a different state. All of that, we can remove those students, and then we've got our numerator and our denominator. So some of those folks that do stay in that denominator are going to be the ones that choose to pursue a GED instead of graduation, come back to finish their credits in the 5th year before they graduate. So just a little bit of understanding of how that's calculated. So on the next page, it is the calculation of this year. So we had 917 graduates, and then you can see the cohort math there, and that gets us to 91.5, which is actually the same as what we were last year. So fewer graduates, but same graduation rate. It's just how the math breaks out. And all that is a breakdown by school, and then our cohort total at 91.5. And keep in mind, too, that BASA, this is only their 2nd year having a graduating class, so. All right, and then this is just a breakdown of, and if you look at 23 and 24, we had 948 graduates last year, and we had 917 this year. But the amount of students that were considered part of that cohort that moved in and out of our district was higher than it's ever been. So we've seen more kids come through our buildings. They didn't stay here to graduate. So, and you can see on that chart there too where the state grad rate is compared to our district. So. Yes. Yes, again, it is something to celebrate too, that they are continuing to go up, and I'm hopeful that, because these 9th graders, the ones that graduated in 24, they started high school in August of 2020. So if you don't remember what date that was, it was 8/17 of 2020 was the first day they started school. And so, and part of them were hybrid, and some of them, we had the learning A and B group and all of that. So they started high school that way. And so for some of them, it was a rough start, and then they got through. So I can't say enough about the folks at the high school, the teachers, social workers, counselors, administrators, everybody. I just have to do the paperwork part. I have to count the numbers. They do all the work to get the kids to the stage. So I'm excited to bring that to you, and hopefully next year we'll continue to see either steady or even increase, hopefully. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchum. Next up, we have an item of information about our Appalachi Pods. I'll prime the pump a little bit before Mr. St. Clair gets up. As you'll recall, we had to ask our Board of Commissioners to do an emergency declaration. The reason for that is when you're in a situation like we were on September 4th, there are times where in order to maintain operations, we have to move quicker than the normal cycle of bid process or rules about those things would work. So we're allowed to pass that to have us a brief period where we can actually do some things flexibly. We asked our commissioners to do that. They graciously agreed. We think this is the very last thing that we will do that's part of that. This is actually a waiving of the a board rule specifically. We think we're back to normal operations after this, but we have had to make some emergency purchases that are tied to timeframes. So I'm going to ask Mr. St. Clair to talk a little bit about that.
To bring the 2 pods at Appalachi online, network equipment is required. Lead times on those are anywhere from 6 weeks to 3 months. And due to the accelerated schedule to bring them online before January, and really, we need them online in December. Other systems, HVAC control and so forth, depend on those. We need to bring them online in December. We did not feel comfortable waiting for a board meeting to proceed with purchasing the equipment that was needed. So to get it here in time to be ready for these units to be online, we went out and asked for competitive quotes from the typical vendors who respond to our normal RFPs. We received 7 responses. MXN of Woodstock has successfully won, honestly, most of our bids in the past for this type of equipment, and they provided us with the lowest cost this time as well. And we were $37 over our threshold, so $75,037 that we purchased using the Emergency Spending Authority from ITS Appalachi Pod construction funds.
Are you taking the $37 out of your budget?
I reached into his pocket. Any questions on that?
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you for your consideration.
All right, a couple of quick information items. One, Rochelle, if you'll go ahead and pull up the attendance document. We did want to, Dr. Moten mentioned this in her teaching and learning presentation, and I want to point out how hard of work the Appalachi staff, their graduation specialists, their counselors, their administrators, their social worker have been doing to try to reach out to every single student that did not routinely come back after September 24th. And as we'll talk through, we did have some students that were not comfortable returning after we reopened the school. And so what I want to share is just a little bit of the impact of what that's looked like. But as I go through all of this, I want to point out every student that you're going to see that sits in this gap has made contact with Appalachi, and they are working on a plan. There is sometimes a gap in that, so if the student needs to enroll in Foothills or GAVS or anything like that, that doesn't happen instantly. That takes some paperwork. Sometimes students thought they might be able to come back. They get back a day or two, decide that's not going to work for them, so they'd reach out to Dr. Moten, and we start that process. So the point is all of these students will be somewhere soon. What you see on the first slide is an actually daily attendance trend, both 12 days before September 4th, and you'll see high schools, typically traditional high schools like Appalachia or Wyneborough High School, on a given day, it does vary a bit based on day of the week or time of year, will vary between 92 and 94% daily attendance. And you can see during those 12 days prior, they were fluctuating normally between about 92 and 96. Then we had the gap where September 4th happens. They are out of commission for multiple weeks. They came back on September 24th, and if you recall, that was a board meeting night, as I recall, and we said you had about 87% of students in attendance. You'll notice that declined a little bit, and then that declined a lot a bit. So to explain what that is September 26th. That was, if you recall, the Thursday before Hurricane Helene was scheduled to arrive, and a lot of our parents were not comfortable sending students on that Thursday, which we understand. So district-wide, our attendance on that day was only about 77%. So Appalachia was lower than that, but that was actually a district-wide phenomenon. For the record, it rained that day. We didn't actually get the high winds until Friday, so we were very comfortable with the decision, but certainly parents, they need to be comfortable sending their kid, and many were not. When they returned, that number bounced around in the high 80s range, and it sort of stayed there to where it is now. They were, as of yesterday, at 87%, but it's been pretty consistently between 86 and 89. So if you think about that in terms of like in a typical high school day, you're at 92, 94, that's a gap in where our students that are not attending as regularly as they were. So I bindled this a little bit by date range. So the 10 days, August 19th to September 3rd, Appalachia was averaging around 93.1% daily attendance. In the period after reopening through fall break, they were averaging about 84.4% per day. And then you can see they actually have jumped up to around 88% October 4th through October 14th through October 28th. What you see next is there have been, not including today, because we did this yesterday, so we didn't have time to include today, there have been 19 instructional days since September 24th. And what you can see is that there have been 3 students who have not returned at all to Appalachia. There's about 12 who've come back for a day, but have not been able to come more than that. And then there's another 6 that have missed 17 days, meaning they were only have been in attendance 2 days. As I said, all of those students have been talking to Appalachia staff, have been talking to district staff. There are plans for all of them. It's going to take a little while, so my goal is that when I come back in a few months and present on this, that we're back to somewhat normal in the low 90s, because those students will be in an environment that actually serves them and they will be attending regularly. But I did want to talk a little bit about the impact of that tonight, because that's certainly something we want to be sensitive to. Under normal operational circumstances, if a student's not been attended for 10 consecutive days, we would drop the students from our rolls. In this incident, we did not want to do that. We want to work with those families and be patient to try to find what's the right solution for that student. Yes, ma'am.
Are any of those students the students who were injured and just out?
I believe that's a yes on some of those. Those would be excused absences in this case, and many of those students may end up on hospital homebound or something like that, where they would be receiving instruction in there. But yes, there are some students in there. Again, those are unexcused absences, and those students are receiving supports in their own way. But it's a little, you're talking about a handful of students. I don't want to get into details because that's going to give away personal information, but we are working with all of those families. That's a good question. Any others? All right, like I said, we'll continue to update you on that. Last item I have for tonight is just a reminder and a follow-up from what we talked about at the last board meeting a few weeks ago, and that is we are undergoing a process. We talked through this at the meeting. We want to be deliberate, and we also want to make sure we are engaging the entire community as we consider what safety enhancements, if any, we want to look at post-September 4th. So as a reminder of where we're at on that, all this month our school governance teams have been going through a day, and as a reminder, our school governance teams are made up of teachers, parents, community members, and in the case of high school students, as well as the principal, and typically some other folks may get pulled in depending. And those folks went through a protocol this month. We cleared the deck on their SGT meeting. Dr. Bowen's team, John Skinner, pulled together a white paper that had a lot of different things that were options to look at, walked through what the research says, the pros, the cons, try to be very fair, give information to not push them in any given direction, but just this is how these things work, this is the general effectiveness, these are the things that are difficult in managing them, these are the things they benefit. So we had them go through a protocol called a tuning protocol, which allows them to kind of have very structured feedback where everybody's voice gets heard and you don't have 1 or 2 people dominating the conversation. And so we have been gathering that feedback all month. They've been sending that to me at the end of the month, because we still have a couple days where there's SGT meetings happening. We'll pull that together. During the month of November, we will have some other groups going through similar protocols. Our Teacher Advisory Council and our Teachers of the Year will also be giving their input. And then because we want the entire community to have a voice in this, we will also have, piggybacking on that, a survey that will go out to all student stakeholders so we can get their feedback on what they think. And we want to make sure they have information on various potential enhancements. We'll take all that together. We will collate all that together, and we will come back to the board in January or February with recommendations of how we would enhance that based on that process. And that I understand that process is a little longer than many folks are comfortable with, but we think that's the right approach to making sure that whatever we go with, it's sustainable and it's effective, because not everything is as effective as it seems initially. We want to make sure we do a good job of putting that together. We don't want to put things in place that we end up having to walk back. So I'll answer any questions on that, but that was just a reminder of where we are in that process. All right, so that's 7 information items. We actually do have an action item. And my apologies on this one. The title is wrong, and that's on me. This is actually not for high schools. This is for elementary and middle school, but I'm going to let John talk through that.
We have already purchased and deployed the bulk of the phones out to the high schools, Wynberg High School, Appalachia, BASA, and we're in the process of wrapping up Sims. Approximately 1,550 new phones are required to complete rollout of classroom phones in the rest of the district. An RFP was posted and 29 responses were received. The low bidder respondent, Data Connect, met the terms of the RFP. They answered all my questions satisfactorily. We have not done business with them before. They are not adversely listed in the SAM.gov database. The financial impact is $242,055 from the ITS classroom phone budget. Any additional purchases will be from ITS funds. The superintendent recommends awarding the purchase of voice over IP classroom and office phones from low bid respondent Data Connect of Olney, Maryland, in the amount of $242,055, and further authorization of the use of this purchasing vehicle through January 31st, 2024, for any additional phone purchases subject to normal board purchasing and reporting guidelines.
Any questions?
No, do we need to vote on that tonight?
Tonight or next week?
Next week is fine.
Okay. Consent?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All righty, at this time, we're going to go into executive session to discuss or deliberate upon the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action, or dismissal, or periodic evaluation or rating of a public officer or employee, or to interview applicants for the position of superintendent.
Yes.
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 All righty, we'll be back in a few minutes.
My name is Jesus Juarez, and I'm a senior at Appalachi High School. A short story from my childhood to where I am today is that I grew up in a Mexican-American household with my older brother, and throughout my time in high school, I've been fortunate enough to have been accompanied by my friends, my family, and various teachers who have guided me along my way. Through soccer, I've been able to learn very important ideals and morals that I can use in my own life, such as discipline, hard work, and always keeping a positive and uplifting mentality. A teacher that's made a lasting impression on me, I'd say, is Mr. Bizzotti. He's always been there for me since freshman year, and even to this day as a senior, he's someone I can go to if I ever have a question or I need help with school. He's always been a very supportive role model, not just for me, but for the entire student body. The biggest accomplishment that I say I have is being one of the top 10 students in my student body. I think it's a very good achievement and recognition to be recognized among such a big and competitive student body. After high school, I plan to attend Emory University, where I'll pursue a bachelor's in biology while on the pre-med track, and one day I hope to aspire to become a doctor, and if possible, I hope to continue my hobby and interest of playing soccer in college. One piece of advice I'd give to myself as a freshman is that always take every single opportunity that you're given. You never know what can happen, and you should always keep a positive mindset no matter what scenario you're in. I have to give a big thanks to my family for always being there for me, even during my toughest times. Last year, I was unfortunate enough to have torn my ACL, and during that time, I really began to understand how much my family meant to me. They were there for me every single day, and I would say that I think I wouldn't be where I am today without them. Their support throughout my whole life has been unwavering, and I'd say that I'm very grateful that I'd say it's impossible to repay them back for everything they've done for me. And especially for my brother, he's been there for me every single step of my life. He's always been a role model that I can look up to and that I can always look towards if I ever need help in life.
Hi, my name is Zahara Jones, and I'm a senior at Barrow Arts and Sciences Academy. I chose to come to BASA because I saw that it is a school that heavily focuses on your pathways, and my pathway that I'm very passionate about is theater. So when I saw that they had a really cool theater program, I was like, this is the place for me. And when I did come here, their theater program is excellent. From the get-go, Ms. Padasol had so many excellent courses, classes, and performance opportunities that I was very excited to join. So currently I am in 2 sports, volleyball and soccer, and those sports have impacted me so heavily. They have given me 2 amazing communities that both love the sport just as much as I do. And so for volleyball, I have an amazing community, and I love, love, love going to practice. I love all of my girls, and we all love to work hard together. We've also done a lot of team bonding together. So when I go to school every day, I know I have people I can go to, talk to, and people that all love the same sport. And that goes the same for soccer. And every day, being in those sports makes me more passionate. It makes me want to keep practicing, and getting better. And it helps me set a lot of goals. Some of my most memorable experiences at BASA has actually been the trips that I've gone on. 2 of these trips that I've gone on have been with BASA's feeder program, and I love them so much. The first one is Georgia ThesCon, which is an event where a bunch of feeder students, all thespians, get to go and watch mini shows and do mini workshops and just learn a lot about acting on stage and on screen, learning about technical elements, and so many behind the scenes of theater, and I really love going. I've gone for 3 years, and not only have I learned so much and seen so much, but it makes me just as passionate as theater as I continue to learn and grow. And then also another trip that we have recently gone on was to New York. And it was so exciting because we got to see 3 Broadway shows, Hadestown, Six, and Sweeney Todd, and they were so good and it was so exciting. And then we also got to do a workshop with a member of Hadestown and then some of their music directors, and we got to learn a dance and then the song chant. And we got to tour New York and see so much, and seeing so much of New York and like the passion of people who are learning to become actors in the professional scene, it really motivates me to keep going. All right, I have 2 really big role models at this school, which is Miss Pattisall and Miss Barnes. Miss Pattisall, she's the first theater teacher that I met the first year, and she's taught me so much about myself as an actor, because first coming in, I was nervous. I was like, am I going to be able to get good at this? There's so many people with experience, but she's been patient with me. She's taught me so much, and she's always kept encouraging me to do my best and to keep learning and keep trying. And through that, I think I've improved a lot, and I really feel more confident in my acting. And then same with Miss Barnes. She encourages us, she keeps us going, she keeps us pumped, and they both provide so many amazing opportunities for us to learn and perform, and I absolutely love it. And I've learned and grown so much from that. And doing that has also helped me grow as a person myself in my confidence and my ability to perform. So for my future plans, I plan to attend Brenau University, and I want to major in theater with the Gainesville Theater Alliance, and then I want to have a minor in psychology. And for my goals past college, I would like to become an actor, so I plan on getting an agent and auditioning. And then my long-term goal is to become a reoccurring role in either a movies or a series, on film or on stage. One of the accomplishments that I'm most proud of is I used to be the community service coordinator for our BASA Drama Club, and one of my projects was that I had a few of our thespians perform Sarah Saves Christmas for the Mulberry Grove Senior Home Living. And it was so sweet, they looked so touched, and all of our cast members did amazing and really touched their hearts. And that just made me so proud to be able to coordinate that and get everything planned, because it was just a really good Christmas for everyone. And then another accomplishment I'm really proud of is back in art class when we worked with the Wimberley Center, I helped with an installment to show Miss Wimberley's passion for sewing. I made little sewing tutorial pamphlets that went along in the installment. One piece of advice I would give myself as a freshman is to join more clubs, because BASA has so many clubs and so many things I would love to do and join, but because I kept myself so busy, I didn't allow myself to explore as many clubs that there were at BASA. I should have participated more in them before I even got here to graduation. So also my advice to future freshmen is to check out a lot of those clubs, because there's so many things that you may be passionate about that is here at BASA. BASA is a place where you truly can be yourself, and I'd say my advice overall is when you come, don't be scared to be yourself, and don't be scared to go after the things you're passionate about, because everyone here is here to support you through that. Woo!
My name is Jaden Cooper. I'm a senior and I go to Warrenboro High School. So growing up, I was just always outside. You know, I like to do a lot of fishing. You can tell by my attire. So when I got to high school, I like to choose the classes that I like to do. So I chose agriculture to be one of my pathways. And basically, I'm getting to do exactly what I wanted to do as a kid, so it's pretty fun. So football teaches you a lot of valuable skills like communication, accountability, and basically just trusting your teammates, because in the classroom and in the workforce, you have to work with people that you don't necessarily like half the time, and you just have to deal with it, and you just have to do stuff like that to become successful. A teacher that's made an impression on me the most would have to be Miss McCall. She teaches business here, and she teaches you about credit, which is a really good thing to know in life. Obviously, I just won prom king, so I'm pretty proud of that, and I'm also proud of being an honor grad, because all my hard work's paid off. I'm planning to go to Georgia Southern to play a little football, and also to pursue a career in environmental engineering. Do your work on time, don't show up to class late, hang out with the right crowd, and never procrastinate.
Tiffany, we are so excited to recognize you as our May Community Member of the Month. You are a true difference maker and have been since the early 2000s. And we have a small gift for you, and just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored, and I love being around you guys, and I love you, and thank you so much for the honor.
You're amazing.
My name is Lee Bain. I'm the Barrow County School System Director of Innovative Learning as part of the Teaching and Learning Department.
My name's Tiffany Coles, and I am with UGA Extension 4-H Youth and Development as a 4-H educator here in Barrow County.
Tiffany embodies the 4-H pledge in her interactions with Barrow County System students, families, and employees. I can read that pledge to you, but I think it would mean more if Tiffany told you what that pledge was.
The 4-H pledge is I pledge my head to clearer thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, and my health to better living for my club, my community, my country, and my world.
And Tiffany truly does this for our Barrow County community in all that she does, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
I have been part of the Barrow County school system since I moved here in 8th grade in 1996. In 97, I started in the 4-H program as a 4-H'er myself. So I know the importance of what 4-H is because it gave to me what I'm now trying to do and give back to the students here in Barrow County.
One of the ways that Tiffany and I, or 4-H and Barrow County School System, partner so well is through the Barrow Robotics Program, which started as a 4-H only program, small scale, following the true engineering design process. They had a team, a high school team, in 2011 with Jackson County 4-H, where Tiffany and the other AmeriCorps Vistas, I think it was at that time, were learning about how to run a robotics program.
I feel blessed every day to work in Barrow County and to work with these kids, and everything I do I see as an investment. I'm investing in the future of Barrow County when I am in the room with kids and I'm providing those programs and lessons in the classroom and after school. And Barrow Robotics is one of my favorite things that I get to do because I learn every day from the students. The kids that come into this maker space that we spend so much time with, they teach me something new every day.
After that successful year in partnership with Jackson County 4-H, Barrow County 4-H founded their own robotics program, and after a year or so, through some grant writing, was able to expand the program to elementary robotics through First Lego League, which is where Tiffany and I crossed paths and started working together. I started some lay coaching of some Lego robotics teams. Not coincidentally, I had my daughter who was on one of those teams, and over the years that developed and grew to middle school teams and to high school teams, and now we have 5 very successful vertically aligned teams.
I am grateful that Lee took the opportunity to recognize me. He does a great job at that. I think he's one of my best cheerleaders in the county. So I am very humbled that you would think of me and go out of your way to do that for me. So thank you so much, and I appreciate you and everything that you do for me.
It's a teamwork.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Eggerstead. I am a pre-K teacher at Auburn Elementary in Barrow County. So the pre-K program in Barrow County helps to prepare students for kindergarten by getting them able to socialize with others before they get ready to learn about how to read and how to function in the school system. So after our morning meeting, we will go into center time where kids will get to choose where they want to play, like in the math center, in reading center, reading books, and in block center, building things, and in home living, where it is just like a little house, and kids will get to just interact with other students, and the teachers in the classroom are basically monitoring them and helping them through their daily lives. So Barrow County Pre-K is different from other counties because we actually do school inside of a school. We are actually able to interact with other classes, other kindergartners, and they can see how other students, older students, are going to school, and they feel important because they're actually in the same building with other students that are not their age. I think that parents should enroll their kids in the Barrow County school system for pre-K because it gives the students a sense of belonging to the school that they're going to be at. And also because we love the kids, and we love to be able to interact with them and get them used to going to school. So it makes a big difference in how they are able to go on to kindergarten. If you're thinking about enrolling, visit our website today.
I would describe Kelly and Ben as family.
Ben and Kelly, we are so excited to recognize both of you as our February Community Members of the Month. We appreciate everything you pour into our community and our schools, and this is just a small token to say thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen.
Our absolute pleasure.
Truly. I know Ben and Kelly McDaniel through a number of interactions I've had with them over the past 5 to 6 years in Barrow County. Ben McDaniel and I were in the same Leadership Barrow class, the class of 2019, and I have gotten to know Kelly through different opportunities through the school system, like the Barrow Literacy Partnership.
Kelly has been kind of the boots on the ground person with our parent education workshops. She's fantastic, of course, with children. She's a children's librarian, and she works with the parents. She's always getting a lot of compliments from them.
For me, it's an honor to be recognized with my wife, because even before I was in Family Connection, when I worked back in Parks and Recreation out of college, like we've both been public servants for a very long time, and it's so cool to go back to it again, that the kid that went to Auburn Elementary, Holstenbeck Elementary, Bethlehem Elementary, I know I'm missing some, Winder Barrow Middle School as well. That same kid to be able to come back 20, 30 years later and just be a contributing member, like it's the best feeling in the world for me.
Yeah, I feel honored. I mean, we've worked so closely with the school system through my work for years now. I mean, 7, 8 years. I've been with my role for 8 years, so all 8 years we've worked hand in hand with Barrow County, and I just feel honored. I feel like we're leaving a legacy of something for our kids to be proud of, and it is nice to be honored with Ben, because Ben is the very front-facing half of our couple, and I am very frequently behind the scenes, and I'm working hard kind of to help push other people forward, but it's really nice to be here.
I trust them so much. There are so many people in the world that will tell you one thing and go behind your back and say something else, but with Kelly and Ben, I know that what they say to me, they're saying to anybody else. They're just always so positive. I guess maybe that's one good word too for them, would be positive. They have an incredibly positive impact on the whole Barrow community.
I love the fact that I moved back to Winder, that I'm able to be a contributing member of the Barrow County Society, and being able to kind of punch in when needed to be able to make things better, whether through its coaching or serving as a mentor or connecting resources or helping develop the workforce of tomorrow through Sims Academy and Linear Tech. Like, that's what it's all about for me, is making sure, not necessarily for my kids, but my kids' kids have a better future in Barrow County.
Ben is known for being a community builder. He does that through formal programs, but he also does it informally. He organizes coffee on Tuesday mornings where everyone is welcome to come and build relationships and get to know each other and just be together. Kelly does the same thing, whether she is involved in the Holstenbeck school governance team or another organization.
Alrighty, welcome back, guys. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the superintendent's the personnel report that was presented by us by the superintendent. Ms. Stevens, Ms. Maloof, all in favor? Alrighty, motion passes. If you guys will notice, our next meeting is next Tuesday, November 5th at 6 p.m. Mr. Bailey, you'll have the invocation. And if there is nothing else to discuss, we are adjourned. Y'all have a good night.
Sorry nobody wanted to sit with you, Nicole.
She's on her